afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of On Cue. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We are coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the SR 1029 FM The Game remote studios. We've got about an hour or so to play with on this Wednesday. Hope everyone had a wonderful Sports Tuesday. You are enjoying your 25th of February, 2026. Get in on the conversation. It's very easy to do. You can hashtag On Cue. Check me out on X, IG at Rich Q on Q, TikTok, Rich Q on the mic. And of course, we're on Kicks, Rumble, the YouTube channel. Like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to download the AUDACY app and search Coastal Sports Digital Network. We got you locked in for the next 60 plus minutes. Busy show on this Wednesday. Hopefully, you guys are still not shoveling the snow. I feel bad for a lot of my New York, upstate New York, and upstate in the mountains, or I should say in the mountains in PA, brethren who are still shoveling. The good thing is a little more sun came out today, which is good. Start to melt that sucker away, and here we go. So the heck with the groundhog. All right, so with that being said, a lot of NFL today. We're going to look into the offseason pressure cookers, that is the NFL offseason. I also want to get into updated NBA MVP odds as well. We are in crunch time right now with the association, and we'll kind of drip you through some news and notes in that regard. So, as I mentioned, you had Howie Roseman speaking earlier today. It was a disappointing season, right? It was a disappointing season. We know that for the Philadelphia Eagles, in which they got bounced in that wild card game against the San Francisco 49ers. Roseman talked a little bit about the depth at the tight end possession, obviously looking at Dallas Goedert. Also, again, the trade rumors surrounding A.J. Brown, saying all the right things, right? You're subtracting a great player, or it's hard to improve subtracting great players. But I've got 4 or 5 team/storylines that I want to throw out to you guys today. And as always, it's a Wednesday, which means it's a Woosah Wednesday. How long will you guys take to get under my skin and have me crack? I'm going to say today, 15 to 20 minutes, based on the conversations that we had yesterday on the air with the Olympics and some of the mouthpieces from the left and the right and the woke. But anyway, so with the NFL, this is where I'm at. I've got 4 or 5 that I think are very interesting storylines. And we know there are several teams that are looking the bridge quarterback route in the NFL. We kind of teased it yesterday, right? The bridge quarterback route. But I'm going to throw it in a different angle. You've got Tua, you've got Murray, you've got Fields, you've got Willis, I'm going to throw in Shedeur Sanders and or Deshaun Watson, and also Kirk Cousins. And Mac Jones is going to be a free agent, so we're going to throw him into the mix. Daniel Jones as well. You've got 10 quarterbacks I basically have just mentioned. And I'm wondering, out of these 10 quarterbacks, right away, where do you believe their potential landing spots are going to be? If you look at the notable free agent quarterbacks in 2026, and also the ones that we know are going to get cut, forget about the wide receivers, the running backs. We're talking quarterbacks right now. Quarterbacks, right? Because everyone believes that Aaron Rodgers is going to come back one more season with Pittsburgh. I have no idea what's going to happen with the Russell Wilsons and or the Joe Flaccos. But Willis, Daniel Jones, we know Miami's probably going to jettison Tua and eat that money. Malik Willis is going to be a free agent. He's going to command some dollars, as we documented yesterday. Mac Jones, free agent as well. Kirk Cousins going to get released, so a team's going to have to eat some of that money. Are they going to take a flyer on Kirk Cousins? So some of these veteran guys that I mentioned, to me, that's kind of like your pressure cooker with the NFL offseason among us, right? Where are some of these quarterbacks potentially going to land? And to be quite honest, is there still a place for them in the NFL? Now, I believe yes, to some extent. The other pressure cooker I'm looking at right now is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs, to me, they freed up some money. They reworked Patrick Mahomes' deal. And now you can start talking about what do they need to do to get back to being who they were. And that's a team that's, coming out, winning their 12, 13 games, capturing the AFC West, making deep runs in the playoffs, winning AFC title games, getting a Super Bowl, winning Super Bowls. So as far as position players, if we go by the premise that Patrick Mahomes is going to come back full strength, it might not be until late September. Who knows? Where are we at right now with the Kansas City Chiefs? Because I think this is a major, a monumental offseason for this franchise, because Andy Reid's not getting any younger, even though he said that he wants to coach a couple more years. Travis Kelce is teetering and wavering between, do I just basically hang him up? Do I come back for another year? And I think that's always difficult to do once you've got one foot out the door, right? And then you got Patrick Mahomes coming off a serious injury. So that's the second pressure cooker. The third, the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Because at this stage of the game, if you are a Dallas Cowboys fan, and you're seeing what all these other teams are doing over the last several years and the runs that they're making, and you can argue Prescott is better than some of these quarterbacks we've seen lead their teams in the postseason. Well, what's the future hold for the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott? Because I believe right now, Dak Prescott is a good quarterback, but I also believe he is overrated. And I also believe that, he's overhyped, because he's got the star on his helmet. Good quarterback, no doubt. I saw someone on X throw stats at me the other day trying to compare him to Brady. I'm like, yeah, you forgot one thing. So the Chiefs make that move, right? Because prior to the move that the Chiefs made, they reduced Patrick Mahomes' number, right? So basically, we're talking short term. It's not like you took a pay cut, right? You're talking about cap hit, 78 to 34. You convert 54 million of his pay this year into a signing bonus. They were over 54 million over the projected salary cap, which is right around 303 million in 2026. Okay. So now you've got the Cowboys, who are nearly 27 million over the cap right now, which is fourth worst in the NFL. Now, Chris Carter basically came out and said Prescott should follow in Mahomes' footsteps and give this team a bit more financial flexibility in 2026. Now, Dak Prescott is one of the highest paid quarterbacks out there. So now when you start looking around, other players got to get paid, do they not? Right? You give CeeDee Lamb 35. Pickens is talking about wanting to be paid. You got some defensive players. But Dak Prescott, for all the money and all the accolades and the stats and everything, the fanfare and ingratiating himself with the franchise, he hasn't won anything. He just hasn't won anything. So to me, this makes sense for Prescott and the Cowboys. Work something out. Restructure. Bring in some weapons that you need to compete not only in the NFC East with the Philadelphia Eagles, but in the NFL and the NFC, and clean up that defense. So the Cowboys are definitely, a team to watch, offseason pressure cooker, along with Kansas City and along with some of those quarterbacks that I mentioned. The fourth kind of tidbit, if you will, bullet point of the pressure cooker, I think this is a huge season. This is a huge season right now if you really take a step back for the Philadelphia Eagles. It is a huge offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know it's low-hanging fruit to bring up the Philadelphia Eagles, but it really is. Because the way the season ended for the Philadelphia Eagles, listen, it was not the way you want a season to end unless you're winning the Super Bowl. We know seasons come to an end. But the fact that there's still questions regarding the quarterback, Jalen Hurts. There's this ongoing friction, it seems, between the quarterback and the all-pro wide receiver and A.J. Brown. The head coach who decided to wait a game too long, really a month too long, to fire his guy, former offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo. Jeffrey Lurie, GM Howie Roseman, that understand that you got your Super Bowl, which is great, but now what can you do for an encore? You basically went flat out on your back against the 49ers at home in a year in which Sam Darnold led Seattle to a Super Bowl. This is a huge offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles because this sentiment that maybe they should draft a quarterback late to push Jalen Hurts? Well, they got the young kid McKee that everyone's clamoring to see. And I understand that Nick Sirianni is always going to defend, Jalen Hurts, right? He's kind of going to push back, push back, push back. But I'm telling you this right now, Sirianni to me is on the hot seat. I just don't forget about the fact that they lost 23-19 in the wild card game to San Francisco. The report that came out in January that Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, the franchise quarterback, got a nice fat contract extension, has been the source of much internal frustration. To me, that trickles down from the head coach not kind of reeling in what's going on behind the scenes. And I think it's in part because of the perception, Sirianni, Howie Roseman, and again, Jeffrey Lurie have all been reluctant to criticize Jalen Hurts. Now, does Nick Sirianni do a 180? Does Nick Sirianni now, as much as he's going to back his players, and you got to appreciate that, no doubt, if he's your head coach, but I also believe you also have to keep them accountable. Do you not? You have to figure out a way to hold them accountable. Does he now take on more of a, let me hold this guy accountable. Let me call him out because he's making X amount of dollars. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been an MVP of the Super Bowl. He's our franchise leader. He should be able to take it. And now I can set the example, right? Enough is enough. So Sirianni, to me, is arguably easily, along with Aaron Glenn, two coaches that are big time on the hot seat, heading in not only to this offseason, but into 2026. So you've got those quarterbacks that I mentioned at the onset, which is kind of like a mixed bag. Veterans, some young guys, free agents, guys that you're trying to figure out, are they going to resurrect their career? The Tuas, right? The Kyler Murrays. Obviously, Kirk Cousins has been around for a while. You've got Kansas City, big offseason. Prescott, because of what Chris Carter said, and I agree, kind of doing exactly what Mahomes and Kansas City did. Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni. And then kind of the fifth bullet point, I think there is a substantial amount of pressure on Seattle to get back to the Super Bowl after winning it in dominating fashion. And they're going to have money to spend. They're going to absolutely just rev up and ramp up that defense. And the pressure is going to fall on Darnold. Can you rekindle that type of magic? So I want to open it up. We'll get to some of your comments. I see you guys chiming in, which I always encourage and I always appreciate. Don't forget, we're powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. New promo code ONQ20. That'll get you savings. Also, get ready with tea. Pliable in Belmar. Play It Again Sports. 2 locations, 1450 Clements Bridge Road in Deptford, New Jersey. And of course, their newest store in Mount Laurel. Open 7 days a week. Check them out online as well. And they'll give you cash right on the spot for their used sports merchandise and more. Plus, we'll get you caught up on NBA MVP odds and a little caveat, a little monkey in the wrench to throw out there as well with some of these updated odds. Keep it locked in. We're about 20 past the 3 o'clock hour. Will take you up to 4 on this Woosah Wednesday edition of On Q. We are coming at you inside the friendly confines of the Sports Radio 1029 FM The Game Studios, part of the AUDACY family, Coastal Sports Digital Network. Download, keep us locked in. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get your comments, NFL heavy, next 15 or so, and then we'll switch gears into the NBA. All right, welcome back, everyone. 3:31. Tom in Summers Point starts us off. Q, I'm not going to sit there and say that there's pressure on the Philadelphia Eagles, but they'll afford to have another season in which they falter early on in the playoffs. I agree. There's a perception now that, this team never really got off the mat to start the season. Offensively, they struggled mightily. We know that. It's been well documented, right? But ultimately, you got to win. And it is a what have you done for me lately type of NFL. And seeing how the NFC broke, if you're an Eagles fan, you're frustrated. Seeing how the AFC broke, if you're a Baltimore fan, a Buffalo Bills fan, you're absolutely frustrated because you felt that the path was there. The path was right there for you, and you just couldn't handle your business. You couldn't get the job done, and that's the problem. And you can sit there and talk about the coaching, the play calling. You can talk about the quarterback play, the lack of quarterback play. You can talk about any other X, Y, and Z variable out there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It was set up. You're at home. You got to win that game. You got to win that game. You got to win that game, period. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. And Buffalo couldn't get through Denver, and Baltimore got pretty much, if you want to call it the play-in, right? Baltimore had an opportunity to win a division, and they couldn't get past the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they faltered, obviously, in heartbreaking fashion, right? Because John Harbaugh decided, let's not run Derrick Henry a couple more yards to help out a rookie kicker who shanked it. So all these teams, there's always something with these teams, right? There's always something, but you got to figure it out. You have to. Kevin in North Jersey chimes in. Q, what did you think about all this perception and narrative coming out with the Giant beat reporters on Joe Shane? Again, I know that Harbaugh is going to come out, and I know that Mara will come out. I know there's going to be this back and forth. What Joe Shane's role is with the New York Giants. At this point, I really don't care, to be quite honest. I don't. They got their guy. They got John Harbaugh. The draft is right around the corner. Go out and get another offensive player. Go get the wide receiver from Clemson. Get another addition for Jackson Dart. Help him out. Fix the offensive line and the defense, and they will be an improved team. Sarge in Delaware chimes in. Q, I know you said this the other day, but what, in your estimation, the difference is? You're talking about a journeyman, a bridge, or a veteran quarterback. So the guys that I mentioned, they are, at this point of their career, a bridge. A Russell Wilson is a bridge. A Kirk Cousins is a bridge. An Aaron Rodgers is a bridge. A Daniel Jones is a bridge. A Willis is a young quarterback. A Tua, I don't know. Kyler Murray, I don't know. Because they were supposed to be faces of the franchise. They were supposed to be franchise quarterbacks, and it just hasn't worked out. Arizona invested a lot of money in Kyler Murray, and the Miami Dolphins invested a substantial amount of money in Tua based on what he was able to do when he was healthy and on the field and not getting concussed, and they were running the football. Well, they haven't been able to do that over the last several years, and he's dealt with a lot of injuries. So when you factor in the contract and the fact that he's not accessible, you can understand why Miami ownership, while the Dolphins brass, they're kind of at their wits' end right now. You signed this kid to 4 years, $212 million back in 2024. And the problem is what you saw didn't match what you're paying them. It's a massive $56 million cap hit in 2026. You're talking potentially $100 million dead cap penalty before June 1st. So they're kind of screwed. Now, he's got to come out and basically say that he's open to playing somewhere else because you're trying to get pennies on the dollar. If you're trying to trade him, a team's got to take on some of that money. Kyler Murray, I think Kyler Murray is a much better quarterback than Tua. But here's the problem. Kyler Murray already played his last snap in Arizona. I mean, Kyler Murray and their GM haven't even spoken. Think about that for a minute. GM picking up the phone, not answering the calls. The quarterback picking up the phone, GM not answering the calls. The fact that, again, you're talking to, you've got to, right? You've got to figure out a way to um, understand what happened, right? And the fact that we're in February and the GM and the quarterback haven't spoken since the season ended, that to me is a telltale sign that Kyler Murray's done in Arizona. And I think he's a good quarterback. I do. I really do. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. Kyler Murray's, remember now, he's 27, 28. He came in the league fairly young. I think he was 20, 21. He had some productive seasons with Arizona. But over the last several seasons, he's been banged up. He played 17 games in 2024, but he missed a substantial amount of time in 2023, and he only played 5 games last year, and that was a disaster, an absolute disaster. And I think that's why, you have to have that talk, and all options are on the table when you're talking about Kyler Murray. Can you see Kyler Murray with the Jets? Can you see Kyler Murray with Cleveland? Can you see Kyler Murray with, I don't know, inserting another team that's looking for a bridge? Like the landing spot to me, the fascinating team will be the New York Jets. And do you want to play in New York? Do you want to play with the Jets? Do you want to play with Woody Johnson or for Woody Johnson, under Woody Johnson? Do you want Aaron Glenn to be your head coach? They're not going to win a lot of games. You already saw what Woody Johnson said about Justin Fields a handful of games into the season when he struggled. If our quarterback can just throw the football, we'd be okay. Something you never want the owner to say, especially if you're the quarterback. Now, Woody Johnson signed off on it. Low risk, high reward. 1 year. Here we go. Pittsburgh wanted to sign him. He signed with the Jets. Pittsburgh wound it with Aaron Rodgers. There you go. They made the playoffs. Okay, fine. But the Jets are in a very precarious spot. Or do you dance with the devil and Kirk Cousins? And you're just looking to get through a season unscathed. Aaron Glenn, at this point, Aaron Glenn understands what's at stake. He totally understands this. He's got to figure out, what the hell is he doing? Fix the defense, and they got to win some football games. So these other teams that we're talking about, like Dallas is always going to have pressure because it's the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones speaks multiple times during the week, before, during, after games. That's who he does. That's what Jerry Jones does. But the money they gave Prescott and the lack of production getting this team deep into the playoffs has now resonated, and it's starting to rear its ugly head. Kansas City, we already know what Kansas City is capable of doing with a healthy Patrick Mahomes. Got injured, they took a step back. Seattle won the Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles are on the outside looking in. So the reason I brought these teams up, because a lot of them are still somewhat in flux. Seattle's the defending Super Bowl champs, but I guarantee there's a sediment of the NFL populace that are waiting for Sam Darnold next year to come out of the gate and struggle and say, it was an aberration. Well, guess what? You can say the same thing about Jalen Hurts then. Let's be fair. You can say the same thing about Jalen Hurts. There are teams right now heading into the offseason with the draft right around the corner. They are pretty much shit out of luck. They're shit out of luck because they don't have the one spot filled that you need to be a successful organization in the NFL. And that's a quarterback position. That's a quarter. Cleveland doesn't have it. The Jets don't have it. Arizona doesn't have it. They just don't. I don't believe Pittsburgh has it. I don't believe Cleveland has it. Insert a couple other teams here and there. Then you'll get your bridge quarterbacks, your veteran quarterbacks, and then you got your young guns, and we're waiting to see the next progression that they take. So it's a huge offseason for those teams. And oh, by the way, let's not discount Baltimore and Buffalo. Like, I can't give Buffalo and Baltimore a free pass. I can't. Because the lot in life for Allen and Jackson, they haven't gotten to a Super Bowl yet. Joe Burrow's been to a Super Bowl. So the pressure cooker, it's there for these teams, man. It's definitely there. And they got to figure it out because it could be a very long offseason, especially the way everything broke this season in the NFL. All right, 3:40 on a Wednesday. Don't forget, you can get social with me. Very easy to do on X and IG at Rich QNQ, TikTok, Rich Q and a Mike. If you like the content, please like, comment, and share. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. As always, you guys are fantastic. Quick timeout. We'll switch gears. We'll talk a little NBA odds. We'll get more of your NFL comments as well, but we'll take you up to about 4 o'clock on a Wednesday edition of On Q. All right, got about 20 to play with on this Wednesday edition of On Q. Rich Quinones here. Let me get to a couple more of these comments. Sal in Baltimore chimes in. Q, thank you for actually saying that. Forget about the offseason for the Baltimore Ravens. I'm starting to get worried now. New head coach, different regime. You still have some players, but they're getting older. What do you make of Lamar Jackson going forward? Lamar Jackson's an all-pro quarterback. He's an MVP. He's a franchise quarterback. But it's going to be a huge offseason for the Baltimore Ravens. You lost your leader in John Harbaugh. Well, I shouldn't say you lost, but you pretty much fired John Harbaugh. You did fire John Harbaugh, and he took the job with the Giants. So now, all of a sudden, the changing of the guard, 17, 18 years, there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period. Now, the same can be said with the Pittsburgh Steelers losing Tomlin after 15, 16, 17 years. These NFL coaches that are around for close to 20 years, once they either get fired, retired, step aside, resign, the franchise, they lost a little bit something. Now, you get some fresh eyes, some from fresh legs, a different perspective. That's always a plus. That's always a plus. And I believe that Pittsburgh and Baltimore, they have two good head coaches. You already know what Pittsburgh's giving you. McCarthy, he's been around the block. So you're looking to steady the ship right now. And then Minter is a young up-and-coming guy. You know, the players still got to make the plays at the end of the day. That's really what it boils down to. That's it. Joe D, South Philly chimes in. I'm not going to sit there and say Sirianni's on the hot seat. The guy just won a Super Bowl a couple seasons ago. But I will tell you this. I'm getting a little frustrated with the quarterback. You get frustrated with Jalen Hurts all you want. Jalen Hurts is going to start for the Philadelphia Eagles next season. Jalen Hurts is not going anywhere at this moment. He's not. Now, we can sit there and have our little fantasy conversations. You know, would you trade? Would you trade? Would you trade? Would you trade? There's no active official trade deals, obviously, involving the franchise quarterback. And I know that, you know, there's been speculation that the Eagles should at least consider trading a 27-year-old quarterback before his value drops. Okay. Now, remember, Jalen Hurts is signed through 2028. It's a 5-year contract, $255 million extension. So now think about this from dollars and cents. You trade him, that involves significant cap implications. So it's not financially impossible because they did it with Carson Wentz in 2020. But I just think if the Eagles draft a quarterback and they have McKee on their roster as well, everyone's going to be in an uproar saying, well, here you go. Jalen Hurts is on the hot seat. And, you know, if he has a couple bad games, they're going to bench him. Jalen Hurts is a season removed from winning the Super Bowl, a season removed, too, from winning Super Bowl MVP. So I do believe that, you know, you still have to look at the body of work. And it really depends upon, you know, do they re-sign some players? Do they take care of the defensive players? Do they bring back A.J. Brown? Do they make some moves to tinker the offense in the offseason? I don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you, well, another offensive coordinator. You have to have patience with Hurts. I've seen Hurts at his height. I've seen him play really good football. I've seen him play very average football. And I've also seen him play very bad football. But the one thing you can't take away from Jalen Hurts is that he won a Super Bowl. And he's a Super Bowl MVP. So to Joe's point, you can be frustrated with the quarterback. But Jalen Hurts, come September, is under center for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, it's not even up for debate. It's not. Now, after next season, if he struggles again, I've gone on record. If he struggles again next season or can't elevate the offense and lead them deep into the playoffs, I think he might be done. I think they might figure out a way to move him, and I think that head coach is not going to last. But again, we're talking, let's get to September, guys. Let's get to September. All this now is smoke and mirrors at this point. All right, updated NBA odds. I wanted to kind of mix them in before we got out of here. So if you guys are hanging your hat on any of these players, what do we got here? Let me get you updated. All right, here you go. So right now, remember now, this is what's interesting. You have 65 game minimum to be eligible to win MVP. Okay. So you got SGA, you got Joker. They've been very impactful, right? But think about this. SGA has already missed 10 games. Joker's missed 16. If they miss 8 and 2 more games respectively, they're going to be ineligible. which opens up the door not only for Wemby, Luka, who decided to, pass up the shot last night, which, everyone's going nuts about that, right? In the Lakers game. And then Cade Cunningham, who I think right now should be the front runner. I really do. By the way, the 65 game rule, when we're talking NBA, MVP, it basically to incentivize the stars to play often and not deal with the load management. And the problem is this season, you get a Steph Curry banged up, you get a Giannis banged up. James Harden's going to miss a little bit of time. Embiid's been, in and out. Guys get banged up. We see it. SGA dealing with that abdominal strain. Joker's dealt with the knee issues. So that's, again, you're talking 63, 64 games late in the year. Do you push to return early? Do you care about the award? Do you kind of keep all your bullets in the chamber for the playoffs? So this is right now, if you go by the odds, I just pulled it up. SGA is minus 145. He's averaging 32. And they're the top seed in Western Conference. Oh, by the way, he's coming off a season in which he led them to an NBA championship. Joker's at plus 3,000, right? And he's just filling up the box score. We've seen that, no exception. Leads the league in assists, 10 a game, rebounds 12. So again, now I'm a player. I'm leading the league in two major categories statistically, nothing to scoff up. Cunningham to me is the dark horse, and I love Cade Cunningham because no one knew about this kid a couple seasons ago. Plus 600. Plus 600. He's third right now. He's moving up after the nice little run that we've seen. He's averaging just under 10 assists, and he's playing lights out basketball for the Detroit Pistons. Right now, the top seed in the Eastern Conference. Luka is plus 4,000, and he's leading the league in scoring at 32.5 points per game. I don't see him. He's a long shot. If you were to ask me right now, I think it's Cade Cunningham. I think he's the best player in the NBA, hands down. He plays both ends of the floor. He runs the floor. He's a finisher. He can create a shot. He plays defense. And I didn't think anyone thought that the Pistons were going to have the staying power. Hand raised, yours truly, right? But yet they're 42-14. Now, you also want to make a case for Brown with the Boston Celtics. With no Tatum, he's had an outstanding season, averaging just under 30. I mean, he does everything. He's a phenomenal player. So we'll talk a little more about this later on in the week, but I just kind of wanted to go through some of the updated odds for some of the hoop guys out there as well. So that's kind of how it lays out on this Wednesday. All right, we're going to start wrapping up. As I mentioned, a little short show. Got to hit the road, back in the saddle tomorrow and Friday. Always want to thank our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, Played Again Sports, Pliable, Get Ready with Tea. Don't forget to download the AUDACY app, search Coastal Sports Digital Network. You can capture me Monday through Friday. We've got Overseas Dimes dropping later this week. We've got a new Double Job Boxing podcast coming out later this week. That's going to be on the YouTube channel. Like, comment, and subscribe. We will be back in the saddle on a Thursday. Appreciate you guys sticking with me for a little rapid fire 45-minute edition of On Cue. And as always, keep yourself locked in to me on social media at Rich Q on Q, XIG, TikTok, Rich Q on a mic. Have a good Sports Wednesday. Back in the saddle mañana. Check out the notifications. They will fire off. You have to check out the notifications. They will fire off. Tomorrow, a little more NBA talk, a lot more NFL talk. I want to get through these NBA odds, start to look at the next 15 to 20 games left in the season. I got some thoughts on my Knicks as well. We will hit that all tomorrow on a Thursday edition of On Cue. As always, be safe, be sound. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, un día.